Hey, this is Ben Llewellyn, and today I'm talking about place names in the Welsh language. Place names for any language are a really great way to get to know a country and a language and how they view connections with the land. One of the things that makes Wales so special is that its place names carry many and most of the same meanings that they did at the end of the Roman Empire, which is not really what you can say for England or the rest of Britain. And those names still carry weight, and people in the Welsh language understand what they mean today. It's a nice day. So let me get to the first one. Bwlch. Bwlch means literally a gap, and this comes to mean a pass up in the mountains. There's a lot of mountains in Wales. Bwlch. So you get names like Bwlch yr Oernant, the gap of the cold rivulet. Nant means like a rivulet or a brook, usually in a valley. It's a very specific thing to Wales. Often Nant is like a twisty little river. Another example is Bwlch yr Oerdrws, the gap of the cold door. I like that. That's quite resonant in meaning, isn't it? And you get that a lot of these bwlchs will be connected to upland landscapes. Oer means cold, so obviously it's cold up in the mountains. Let's go to the next one. Can you see those boats from earlier out there in the sea? Penmynydd, the top of the mountain. There's a dog barking. I don't know how this mic's working. Let me know. Or if it's a dud, I'll just do some videos elsewhere. Pentre. It has two elements. Pen, like Penmynydd, the top of the mountain, and tre, which is town. And you'll see these all over Wales. Tre is more often in the south, and you get a lot of this in Cornwall as well, and in some parts of England as well. And I want to talk about Tre, like Trecelyn is a really beautiful place name in Wales. I think the English name is, they call it Newbridge, but I'm like, why would you call it Newbridge if you have such a beautiful name in Welsh? Just use the Welsh name, right? And you get like Treheres, Treforest, Tremadog, that's all over Wales. Pen is like, it can mean like the end, like Pen Man Mawr. Well, that's actually like the head of, but it means the head of, the end of. And Pentre literally means village, and you'll see this across Wales as well. Pentre, like the end of the town, I guess it meant. But in the north, You more get like Pentre, places with Pentre on the name on their own, which is, I guess that's kind of weird, but it's just what it is. But in the south, you get more Pentre on the outskirts of cities, I think, like Pentrebana. It's a really nice day, and I'm gonna go walk that way and take you with me. Wales has quite a deep and long religious history, and it's left its mark on the landscape of words. One that you'll see quite often is eglwys and church, and it's feminine in Welsh, which gives it a characteristic that it changes words after it. So bach is small, but often you'll see eglwys fechan, small church. And one thing doing this video, I thought the word for chapel, which is capel, was quite new compared to church, and I was wrong. It's also very old. You get capel Cyrig from a 7th century saint, and you get capel Dewi, St. David's Chapel. And these are littered across Wales, both of these words. One that I like is Capel y Ffin, the chapel of the border. The Ffin, the border. Another religious related word is betus, kind of a small house of worship. I think it's quite an old word, that, and it's fallen out of use in many dialects. Betus is really a very small chapel, and one place name that I'm quite fond of is Betus y Conwy, and it's not in Wales, because, well, let's face it, they drew the border wrong when they drew the Welsh border. They gave a lot of our land to England, and Betus y Conwy means the small chapel or the temple of the skins. I wonder what the skins element was. Maybe it was a temple covered in skins in the forest, I don't know. Betus y Coed, the small chapel of the trees. Coed, trees. You'll see this word a lot around Wales, and coed comes to mean, it's like forest, but it's just a clump of trees. And you'll see this in, one of my favorites is near Cardiff. It's Tullgoed, which literally means the hole in the woods, and their settlement grew up around this pathway through the woods. And you get places like Bargoed and Hengoed, Old Wood, and Pennacoed is a common one, the head of the forest, or the head of the trees. And it goes to show that until relatively recently, Wales was just covered utterly in forest, and there were coed everywhere, and you'll see that word everywhere. I should add that sometimes it becomes ga, the sea. That's just part of the Welsh. It has a mutation system, letters change, so you Bargoed. One near Wrexham that I like, Coed Poeth, and this is hot trees. And what it was is there was a lot of clearing in that area, and they burned a lot of things. Like, they cleared stuff for agricultural land and they burned it, and they burned charcoal a bit later on, and they had some works there in Coed Poeth, the hot woods or the hot trees. Good name. This seems like a good spot, so I'll do a couple here. Now, you heard me say Hengoed. Old and new are quite common place names within place names in Wales, so Hengoed is like old trees and stuff. And you get words like, you see Henllys, you get that quite often. I don't know often, but you'll see it around Wales. Henllys, Hendre, old town. And the Henllys one's interesting because Wales had a very long period of different kingdoms and stuff, and lots of princes, kings, different Norman lords. So Llys is spread throughout Wales with hen as well. And Newydd, you get Tre Newydd, new town, and you get Key Newydd, new key, a Bont Newydd, the new bridge. You get Newydd often, and I think it's quite a lot found in towns that developed, I think, around the 1700s, but you see that really common around Wales, Newydd. Can you hear those birds? One that you see a lot is Aber, like Aberystwyth, Abertawe, Aberdar. And that third one is a bit different because what it means normally is an estuary, like a river mouth. But in English, an estuary just means really opening onto the sea. But in Welsh, it's usually that, but you get names like Abercraf and Aberdar, which are up in the hills, and what it is it's when a river meets another river. So it's an estuary opening up onto another river. And that's one thing that makes Welsh a bit unique and different to English, I think. And you get Aber from earlier times up in Scotland, Aberdeen. And this is directly from the same word root. Sir Conwy. Yeah. I ran out of batteries and this was the last image that my camera captured. What I was going to go through was Llan and Llanach, showing you that they're different things. And just briefly, Llan is a religious enclosure around a place of worship and sometimes a church. Churches are bigger than many of the things that these clans were around. And I don't want to go much into that. Maybe I can make another video. Would you like me to make another video on place names in Wales? Let me know. A llanach is a woodland clearing. I guess a glade would be the closest equivalent. A llanach. There's an interesting place name that I like, Llanach Meads. And it literally means the glade of the mead, or the Meads glade. I like that. It sounds much better in Welsh, actually. Also, I was going to point out Rhyd, which you'll find across Wales. This means a ford. Wales has lots of rivers as it is mountainous and it rains a lot. You get places like Rhydfelyn, the Mills Ford, Rhydaman, Ammon Ford, like a place or a river, and sometimes you say the reed of such and such a river. Thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to hit that like button, and if you would like more of this kind of content, like wandering around Wales perhaps and explaining what place names mean, let me know and we could probably do that. Well, I'm in Wales, so I can wander around and explain what place names mean. Diolch yn fawr iawn am wylio. Thank you very much for watching. We will see you in the next episode.